Now, this next story is in Bridger Wilderness. It was Dead Man's Creek. We went up to, I think I've told this story already, but I'm not sure. But anyway, went up to Bridger Wilderness with some people in the neighborhood here in North Ogden. Dave was there, and you know, a bunch of the young men, young scouts, and we walked up to a 7-mile, real steep 7-mile hike up in the Bridger Wilderness. As I was coming down the trail, I had on a backpack of 60 pounds. My son Brandon had a 20-pound pack. He was 7 years old. Brandon kept falling, so I ended up having to strap his backpack on mine, and now I had an 80-pound backpack hiking at 7 miles. It was horrible. Anyway, on the way up, a man stopped and said, "Hey, I need your help." And I said, "Okay." You know, I'm thinking stranger danger. What do you need? And he said, "There's been a man that's been hurt up above at this lake," and he explained where it was at. I said, "Well, how bad's he been hurt?" He says, "Well, he's been hurt really bad. This is his son, and I'm taking him down, and we're getting the sheriff's department to go up and help him. And he's up there with his brother." I'm like, it didn't make sense. I didn't know if his brother killed him or what happened. He said a tree fell over on him and hurt him. I said, "Well, how bad is he hurt?" And I'm thinking that they were chopping a tree or somebody got hit with an axe or something. I had no idea. And he says, "Well, he's hurt really bad." And I says, "How bad?" And then he finally said he's deceased. He didn't want the young son there to know that his dad was dead. So he says, "I need your help." So, boy, I'm kind of panicking at that point. So me and Brandon say a prayer, and I'm starting to hike up there because me and him are ahead of everybody. We get up there. It was horrible. Brandon kept going up ahead of me in the trail, going, "Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad. You're doing good. Come on, you can do it." And I mean, it was just so hard. He didn't have a backpack on, but I had an 80-pound pack on, and I weighed him before we left. It was horribly heavy. Eventually we got up there, and I was real stiff and sore. I had my pistol with me, my gun with me, and the man said, "If you get up to this lake and you look across, you'll see a tent, and at that tent, that's where their tent is, and then up the stream about a few hundred yards, that's where the man is that's hurt or deceased." And I'm like, okay. I still didn't know what was going on. I still felt kind of a stranger danger feel to it. So anyway, we got up there, and I looked across and I saw this man by the tent, and I waved and I whistled and I waved and I whistled and I waved, and finally he looked over and he waved, and then he disappeared. I'm like, what's going on? This is weird. You know, I wonder if this guy killed his brother. I had no idea what happened. So finally, Brandon and I made my way around. We made our way around the lake, and I had to walk around the lake. It took us probably 20 minutes to get over there, 15, 20 minutes at least to get over there. Found the tent. There was nobody there, and this is weird. So I walked up the river a little bit, because he said he was up the creek or the river, and this river was about 15 feet across, maybe 10, 15 feet across, but it was a torrent, a very, very heavy-duty rush of water. As I walked up, I could see this man sitting on a log and on a big rock, a big huge rock up above by the river, and he was just sitting there, and then there was a person who was deceased right below him laying on a rock. And I thought, this is really weird. So I told Brandon, "You stay here." And so I walked way up on the top, because I wanted to stay away from him to see what was going on. I walked up on the top ridge to look down and say, you know, what's going on here? And I could see that the one man was passed away, and that there was they were sitting on a gigantic rock by the river. And so I thought, this is really, really strange. So I eventually said, "Do you need some help?" And he said, "Yes, I need some help." So I walked down around, sat down by him, and I says, "What's going on?" And he said, "My brother got killed. He's dead." And I says, "Okay, would you like me to cover him up?" You know, and I felt really bad for the guy. So he had flies in his nose, and he was just laying there on the rock. And I covered his brother up with a coat from this man. He was just sitting there with his brother. I covered him up, and this man just sat there. So the brother that was still alive just sat there, and I says, do you need a blessing of any kind? Do you want me to say a prayer?" So I gave him a priesthood blessing or a prayer there, and covered his brother up, his body up, and then I sat with him for a while and asked him, "Have you been through difficult situations like this before?" He says, "Yes, I have." And I kind of got the feeling that he might have gone through Vietnam. So just in talking with him, he didn't say a whole bunch, and so I still didn't know exactly what happened, and I couldn't figure out where this tree had fallen over and bothered the guy. What I didn't see, though, is right where we were sitting, there was a gigantic, huge tree that had fallen across the whole stream. Big, huge, like pine tree that had old branches on it and stuff. Just had fallen across. It was just a gigantic tree. So I headed back over to the back. I says, I'm going to go get Dave and talk to Dave, and we'll come back up and help you. Do you need me to bring you anything? No, I'm just going to sit here with my brother. So I left, got Brandon, we took off, we went around the camp, went over to the camp. The scouts eventually made it there. I talked to him and says, Dave, this is what's going on. There's a man over there. This guy told me he's going to go get the sheriff's posse, the horses. They're going to come up and help. He told me that his guy was hurt. Then eventually told me he was deceased, and he actually had his son, the deceased man's son, with him. And he asked me to come and help this guy. I don't want to really go over there. I got my son here. Would you go over and help? So Dave says, I'll go over and help. Dave left, came back, says, I'm going to go stay with him the night. And so I said, okay, I'll stay with the scouts and my son. Still, again, I'm kind of tired, I'm fatigued, I'm a little bit in there's some anxiety going on, a little bit of anxiety going on. Don't know exactly what's going on here, because I still don't know if this brother killed his brother or what, because he's dead, but I don't see any. I was thinking like a small tree blew over and bumped him and killed him or hurt him. I didn't know what happened. I thought they were chopping trees and the tree fell over and hit him, but there was no small tree that looked like it had been chopped and had been hit. And how did he get on that rock? I didn't know. So about 1 o'clock in the morning, we were sleeping. All of a sudden, 3 shots rang out. And I'm thinking, oh crap, this guy killed Dave. What am I going to do? How am I going to tell his wife that I let him go over there with that guy and he killed him too? That's how my mind was thinking. Kind of some anxiety and maybe some panic going on. But I just forced myself to go back to sleep and thought, well, maybe it wasn't a gun shooting. Maybe it was just the fire crackling or something like that. Anyway, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sleeping. All of a sudden I hear, Bruce, 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 Bruce. And he's wiggling my tent. And I go, what? And it was Dave. He's wiggling my tent. Bruce, Bruce, get up. I says, what's going on? And he goes, get up. I need your help. I need you to build a fire. I need Jason's raft because I'm going to paddle across the creek. I go, well, how's he doing? He goes, he's dead. I go, are you kidding me? The guy is dead now that you were taking care of? He goes, no, he's not dead. His brother's dead. I'm like, I know his brother's dead. But how's he doing? He goes, he's having a hard time. I says, what were those 3 shots? He says, I says, what were those 3 shots? He said those 3 shots were the sheriff's posse coming up, or the sheriff's department, and they couldn't find him at their tent, so they shot several times, and that's how they woke us up, and we were able to get them up there where the brother was. They put him in a body bag. They brought him down, and as I built the fire up, I could see Dave paddling across the lake. It looked like a Sherlock Holmes video or a Alfred Hitchcock movie. He was paddling across the lake, 3 o'clock in the morning, totally black, and I could see all kinds of lights up in the hills, up in the mountains, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 lights that were all over. And what it was they were trying to figure out how to get the guy down off the mountain with the horses, and they had lanterns and lights on their horses trying to find out where they were going. They got down, they loaded his body in the body bag into the raft, and then Dave took a lantern and he pulled the raft behind him all the way around the edge of the lake. And while he was doing that, there were people all the way up in the cliffs and in the mountains, kind of on horses, and there was different lights shining back and forth, and it looked like Dave was this evil guy with a dead guy in a raft, pulling him across and around the lake, and they were looking for him, but they were just trying to get down off the cliffs and off the rocks. But they came over, Eventually the sheriff's department came when they got to our camp. There were several horses, several men helping to get this brother and his deceased brother off of the mountain. And I asked him, I said, so what happened? How did he die? Because I never did understand how he died. I just thought they were chopping a tree down and the tree either hit him or was hit with an axe. I didn't know. Maybe the brother had killed him with an axe. I had no idea. He said that they came from Arkansas the day before on Sunday. They woke up because he had been here a year before and he loved the Bridger Wilderness, and he wanted to bring his brother here. It was a couple of years ago. He came here and brought his brother to the Bridger Wilderness. They walked in on Sunday. On Monday morning, from their tent, they walked up this river, and the man, his brother, was fishing on this gigantic rock by this small stream. It was only 10 or 15 feet across, but it was a torrent of water. And he was fishing on this, in this little nook area. And a big wind came up. A big wind quickly came up, blew, shook this gigantic tree. This gigantic tree came down as he was on that rock, and it hit him. And it hit him so hard, it just hit him and drove him to the rock and killed him instantly. It hit him so hard, and that was that gigantic log or that gigantic tree that was across the river above the rock that he was laying on, where I found them. And so that's what happened. What are the chances, coming from Arkansas, showing your brother this new camping area, walking up in the middle of the wilderness and finding a little fishing hole and starting to fish for a few minutes and then being killed by a gigantic tree? The man left his equipment there. The sheriff's department took him down off the mountain, and I never heard of whatever happened with the guy after that. But the brother was extremely sad that was so excited to bring his brother and his brother's son to the Bridger Wilderness, and a tree fell and killed this man on his vacation. What a coincidence to be killed by a tree coming from Arkansas in the middle of Wyoming on that unique day, at that unique time. Anyway, it was quite an experience, and difficult for them and very strange for us, but I was very glad that Dave could help and that we could help with the situation.